Welcome back to Scouting for Growth, the podcast where we explore the journeys of successful entrepreneurs and investors too. Today, we have an exceptional guest joining us, Nick Telson-Sillett. Nick is a renowned entrepreneur, angel investor, and public speaker based in London. Yes, my city too. He has an impressive track record in the startup ecosystem and has made a significant contribution to the sector or industry. We are excited to have him here today to share his insights and experiences with us. Nick is the co-founder of Design My Night, a highly successful B2C platform that quickly gained popularity here in London, attracting over 8 million views per month. The platform also had a B2B arm serving more than 5,000 clients. I'm sure many of you have probably used Design My Night if you have been looking for a bar, a pub, and you wanted a unique experience. Design My Night's remarkable success story culminated in its acquisition by the Access Group in 2017 for approximately $30 million. After the successful exit of Design My Night, Nick continued his entrepreneurial journey by co-founding Trumpet, a buyer-enabled software solution. In addition to his ventures, he's a founder of Horseplay Ventures, a venture arm that has invested in over 55 startups and has become a well-respected angel investor. Nick's expertise and experience in the startup world has made him a sought-after speaker. Nick shares his knowledge on stage and on various platforms, so worthwhile finding him, on digital. He even hosts his own podcast called Pitch Deck, where he provides valuable insight to startup founders and in angel investors as well, and how one should engage with the other in discussions, which are usually welcoming guest angel investors and mentors too. Today, we will dive deep into Nick's journey as a startup founder, his role as an angel investor, and we want to explore his latest project, Trumpet. We will discuss his strategies for evaluating investment opportunities. We are going to ask him a few advice or tips for aspiring entrepreneurs, and we will gain, I hope, some insights on the current startup landscape. Without further ado, let's welcome Nick Telson-Sillett to the show. Hi, Nick. So great to welcome you on Scouting for Growth.
Thank you so much for having me, Sabine. Really looking forward to it.
So, Nick, I was actually reading about you a lot over the past 24 hours, and it's impressive what you've done with your career, your work, and the businesses you've built. So I would love for you to share a little bit more on your journey as a startup founder. I would like to start with your path as a startup founder, the co-founder of Design My Night. I'm sure a lot of people are asking you that question because I check your YouTube as well. And how you actually got this to a place you were able to exit, actually.
Yeah, so I started the startup journey in my mid-20s. So I was previously working at L'Oreal doing marketing. I was there for about 3 or 4 years. And then it was myself and my best friend. We were in New York, having a few too many margaritas. And then we came up with the idea for Design My Night, which at the time was just a sort of much more forward-thinking discovery platform for going out. And we're talking 2010 here, so a long time ago, where there wasn't many apps and websites about going out and discovering restaurants and bars. And there wasn't that much information about startups either, especially in the UK versus San Fran. So we actually just threw ourselves into it without thinking too much. 6 months in, we quit our jobs and went full throttle on Design by Night. And yeah, very fortunate for us that we grew it, we pivoted it. So we also implemented SaaS products. So we built reservation software for bars and pubs. We built ticket software for events and pop-ups. And then we had the B2C website that hopefully, especially people in the UK, would have used. We grew that for 7 years. We grew it to over 100 people, and were very fortunate enough to exit it in 2017. When we exited it, Design by Night was getting around 8 million uniques a month. I think it's something like 1 in 6 Londoners were using it every month. And we had tens of thousands of SaaS customers for our reservation and ticketing platform. And yeah, then we had to stay for 2 years. So we had an earnout with our acquirer and then fully exited at the end of 2019.
Super interesting. And I'm sure some of my listeners will ask themselves, so how you differ from OpenTable?
Yeah, good question. So actually we came at it from a very different angle, and I think this is a good lesson for startup founders as well, is if you just look at the reservation market, you'd think, yes, OpenTable, book a table, Res Diary, now there's 7 rooms, so many. But actually what we did is we drilled in a bit further and found the niche of bars. So OpenTable focused on restaurants, and back in 2012, when we launched the reservation platform, you couldn't book in a bar. So what we did is actually we went to the industry and said, look, if we built you a reservation platform that worked for you, not for restaurants, but for bars, and bars are a lot more complicated than restaurants, would you use it? And then they were like, yes, definitely. And then we went to our customers in Design by Night land and said, look, wouldn't it be better for you if you could book into a bar and not just show up with your bag on your back by the bar hoping to find a seat? Yes. So we actually then married the marketplace together, built the software for the bars, showed customers that you could book into a bar and enjoy it like you can a restaurant. And that's really how we differentiated ourselves at the start. And we pretty much signed up all of the best bars in the UK just because there was no reservation platform that really catered to their needs.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm French, so I love really good wine. And when I go to actually a pub or a bar, this would be my first criteria. Clean glasses, beautiful looking glasses. You won't believe what you can find, but then a list where I can actually find amazing wine by the glass, which is very rare as well. So, your platform then can help people like me who have very specific needs to actually be satisfied.
Exactly. Like we really drilled in, the type of venue, the type of music, the vibe, obviously the area, location, how busy it would be, all of this stuff that again, OpenTable, great at what it does, but it's very like restaurant focused and it's very cut and dry for restaurants. And especially in the UK when you've got pubs, which is a huge market, I think over 60,000 at least in the UK, and they weren't being catered for by anyone. So, we really came in and married up the bar and pub market. And interestingly for us, and this was pure luck, because we built such a flexible booking system for bars, there was then the boom of casual dining. So
Yeah.
Wacker and all of those places, which again didn't exist back in the day.
Dans
And
le
actually,
noir?
yeah, don't exactly. More like experiential, different types of restaurants that actually needed the flexibility. So then we actually made a real big play for these more experiential and casual dining, and still left the more formal dining to OpenTable. But yeah, we really built out our customer base starting in bars.
That's amazing. So what were the key challenges you face and maybe some of the key lessons you learned on the journey? Because you already shared that you had to marry 2 different target audiences and actually really make sure that the proposition you were building was the right one. So what did you learn on the way?
Yeah, I think exactly that. So, A, you can't please everyone. So, I think that's very important to know. I think if you go out building a product and you're sort of at the whim of your customers, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do this, you'll never have clarity and be able to build strategically. You're always sort of chasing your tail. So, we had a very strategic thinking on where we wanted the software to go. For example, now when you book into a restaurant as well, you have to normally put your card down or pay a deposit. That was our idea. So we were the first booking system to do that because speaking to the industry and looking at trends, we could see that no-shows are a big problem. So we actually thought strategically, no one was asking for it, but we were like, actually, wouldn't it be a great idea if you could put a deposit down online? And then we built that system, and now all of the systems have it. So yeah, giving your space to think strategically and not only be at the whim of your customers, but at the same time, a lot of your customers will come up with great ideas. So it's that balance internally on building product of what are great ideas from your customers and what are strategic ideas that you need to build. The other side of it is learning how to do sales well. For me, sales is going to be the new engineering. Like finding great salespeople that know what they're doing is rare, it's tough. And we really learned on the job. I was a marketing background. My co-founder was more strategic operations background. But determining your ICP, so your ideal customer profile. So who is the right type of customer? And for us, for example, we would look at a bar's website and say, do they mention private hire? Do they mention guest lists? Do they mention pre-orders? All of these tick boxes that I'd give to the sales team and say, look, if they mention 3 or more of these, they're an ideal customer. If they don't waste your time. So really determining what your ICP is, as we call it, and going after that ICP and not being distracted by everything else. That is super, super important. And I think the other thing that we really learn as early stage startups is not to get distracted. Like focus is so important. You have everyone promising you the world, partnerships, sponsorships, all of these things that actually in the end just add noise. Like really just surround yourself with the work. I'm almost not an advocate for like these hundreds of networking events that happen all the time in the founder community. For me, spending 3 hours at a networking event versus spending 3 hours at my laptop building the business, I would controversially say 3 hours in front of my laptop is more worthwhile. Becoming a founder has become this almost like fashionable sport. And actually people forget it's just really, really, really hard work, as you yourself know. So it's not all fun, it's not all networking, it's not all sponsorship and partnerships, it's actually just building a business and getting your head down. So I think not getting distracted, especially in the early years, is something we eventually learn.
Beautifully said, Nick, because like you, I love being in front of my laptop. I prefer to be in front of my laptop in a beautiful scenery like Italy, where I can actually be rejuvenated. And so I have to say that I've probably become more selfish over the years around which event I attend. I used, to do probably 20 events a year. I mean, I'd speak, I moderate, I do a lot of events, but I've kept that down probably to 10 a year. And actually, I'm pretty demanding as well around the trade-off as to why I organize or attend an event and what everybody gets from it. So I think what you are saying around focus, but also making sure that you take care of your time is critical, because there is only what, as founders, we probably can do 15 hours a day, but still only 15 hours a day. So time is the most precious currency utility we have. And so we need to use it wisely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And learning to say no, like it doesn't, especially Brits at least, we always want to be polite. So actually learning to say no to people doesn't have to be rude. As you say, it's about preserving your time. And everything you commit your time to, you should think, is that going to drive my business forward? Like, am I really going to benefit from doing this? Yes or no? If it's a no or a maybe, don't do it, especially in the early years.
So before we go on to trumpet, because we actually talk about ICP, right? I want to talk about you as an angel investor, because I would love to go through your path and the transformation you have gone through from designing a business you sold, I think, $30 million, Design My Night, and then you move into angel investing. And so let's just explain to our listeners and audience here, what are the criteria, right? You are looking for now as an angel investor, Nick, when you are deciding to invest in startups, and you are doing this through your own venture fund as well. And so for people to really understand, you have multiple businesses, and going into the sales conversation next is going to be important to understand why you also are helping a lot of young ventures to understand how to be investor ready, and how you decided to build pitch deck as well.
So yeah, so from the angel side, once we exited, I love the startup world. I was mentoring founders as well, and so yeah, angel investing was sort of an obvious route for me to go down, because I can obviously help financially and help by mentoring or helping the companies that I'm financially invested in. So it made sense to me. It's an interesting one. As you say, a lot of founders I have met in the past definitely aren't investor ready. And I think the first thing I always say to founders is, have you thought what you want out of your business? So not what have you read in TechCrunch or Sifted or something like that. What do you want from this startup? Because actually, if it's just you and you don't need to raise money, and if, let's say, £3 million to you is life-changing, well, actually, you can build a business that's worth £3 million. You hold 100% of the equity, and then you can sell it. If you want to earn £10 million, you can work out, okay, well, maybe we'll take on a small bit of angel investing, and we'll build a business that is worth 20, 30 million pounds, and I'll have enough equity for my 10 million pounds. Or it might just be a lifestyle business. Actually, I want to build a business that I can earn £300,000 a year from as a salary. Great. Or it's the TechCrunch route, is I want to raise venture back and I want to go big and try and build a unicorn. Bearing in mind, that's a much, 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 much bigger chance of failure. So that's the first thing I always ask a founder, because you don't always need investment. Second is then, do you go angel or VC? So angel investing, we have very different requirements. So as an angel, when I'm looking at a pitch deck, I'm thinking I tend to get in very early. So let's say under 5 million valuation. So I'm thinking, can I 10x my money here? So that's a great return for an angel investor. So I'm thinking, let's say I invest at 3 million. I'm like, can I see this being a 30 million pound business? Yes or no? Whereas if you take that to a VC, they want to see, can this be a £1 billion
A billion.
business?
Minimum billion, right?
Minimum. And again, not all startups or ideas are $1 billion ideas, and that's totally fine. So I see lots of founders wasting their time trying to convince VCs that they're right for them, but actually they're just not, and that's fine. So what I say to founders is, why don't you raise 100,000, 50,000 from angels who can move much quicker? You can maybe just have one call or two calls. They have their own network as well, so can refer you to their other angel investor friends, and raise that in a couple of months rather than trying to do a 5-month big VC raise where you're going to get lots of rejections. Build out the business, prove the use case, get some revenue, prove that it works, then go again and maybe raise like 300 or 400,000 pounds from angels, and just stagger it. Rather, I just see people that come out straight away and they're like, I'm trying to raise VC, and they haven't got a product, they haven't got any product market fit, etc., etc. So all of that is a long way of me saying to founders, like, really decide the type of path you want to go down, and there really is no wrong path. The only wrong path is going away from what you want to do. So yeah, that's the first thing I'll always say when I meet founders. In terms of what do I look for?
Yes. How do you evaluate the potential for growth? Yes.
So the obvious stuff, so problem solution. And again, you'd be very surprised how many don't have an obvious problem. And when I say a problem, there's a famous adage of saying, is it a vitamin or is it a painkiller? So if your problem is a vitamin, that means it's a nice to have. We all take vitamins because we think they might help us. If you take a painkiller, you're taking a painkiller to solve an immediate pain point, an immediate infection you've got. So when I look at a problem, I'm less interested in vitamins, which are nice to haves, and I'm very interested in painkillers, we are solving a real problem that people have, and people want to buy our product because of this pain point. So that's number one. Number two is then, what's the solution to this? Is the solution a good idea? Number three is traction. And because I invest very early, I'm not expecting tons of customers or revenue. But again, what I say to founders is you can be speaking to your target market early on. You can have a one pager about your idea before you've got the product. And you can go to people, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I'm thinking about building this product. You're in my market that I'm trying to sell to. What do you think? What's your feedback? Would you buy this product? And you know what? If a founder then came to me and said, look, I'm building the product, but I've spoken to 50 of my target market. I've got all of this feedback, and 30 of them have said, if I build it, there's an intent to buy there. I see that as a founder, who's really on the ball versus a founder who's just like, well, I haven't spoken to anyone yet because I haven't got a product. So like that ingenuity, that hustle, to show that there is a real need for the product. The team is obviously very important. What I look for in a founder is that grit, that determination. Very hard to put your finger on it. But when I do speak to a founder, I like to get a bit more personal with them, like really understand where they've come from as a person. Why are they doing this? Are they doing this just for ego and money? Fine. Like, we can be honest about that. Or, have you had some hardships in your life and, you want to, build a big nest egg for you or your family, or, have you been through something that makes me think, okay, this person, has been through adversity and understands the challenges that are ahead of them, versus someone where, life has been handed it to them on the plate. And then, when it gets tough, and it invariably will get tough, are they going to have that grit and determination? So those are sort of like the four overarching things I look for when I speak to a founder.
That shows also a need for, as a founder, a need for humility, and also self-awareness around strengths and weaknesses, or I would say drivers and deep leaders, but also being mindful that it's not easy to do things. And, in my industry, we have seen some amazing founders, but we also have seen founders who came with a lot of money. And at some point, we've seen a lot of arrogance in the way they have run their business, and some of them actually been near bankruptcy. And sometimes I think maybe not a surprise, the lack of self-awareness means they may not have led their business in the right way.
Yeah, and I think lack of humility is a very important point, not only as a person, as the founder, but as a leader. So, I'm also looking at that founder, and I've come across this where I've thought, idea, I love it. You seem to have something about you as a founder, but then I'm thinking, can I see you building the team? Can I see you being able to manage the team, and the complexity, the sensitivity that comes with managing a fantastic team, because you won't be successful without a strong team behind you. And humility is one of that, like being able to admit when you're wrong as a founder, having open ears to your team on their ideas, changing strategy if something's not quite working. And the classic, like hiring people that are better than you. Like, you can't know everything in every department. So having the humility to hire people that will teach you stuff. And, I love that. That makes me a more rounded person if I surround myself with clever people that are also helping me build my business. Like, in my world, I think that's amazing. So yes, being very humble and knowing your gaps is super important. So again, when we talk about team, and there might be a lack of engineering or design or something, but then being aware of that and saying, look, once I raise this money, I know what we're missing is engineering, or we're missing a great designer, and that's going to be like one of the first few people I go out and hire.
So please, Nick, tell us a bit more about your new project, Trumpet. What problem are you trying to solve for, right? And I know you hinted a little bit earlier about it. And what inspired you to try and solve that problem right now?
Firstly, I love the way you say it with a French accent. So I'll have to get you on an ad saying trumpet. It sounds a lot better with a French accent. Or trumpet. So yeah, it's not an instrument, or we're not doing an instrument shop or anything like that. We're in the sales space. So what I'll start back the other way. So what inspired us to start Trumpet was Andrew, my co-founder, and I from Design My Night. As I said, we finished Design My Night end of 2019, then COVID hit. So, I think we were envisaging taking a year off and traveling and chilling out finally. But actually, we were stuck like everyone else was in their living room. And we were like, look, what's next? Let's accelerate this. We've got nothing else to do. Still young, still had lots of ideas, dreams, and plans. So the first step was let's go again, but let's build something that's instantly global and much more scalable than Design My Night. So Design My Night was a very heavy business, like a huge content platform and SaaS, and hospitality is a very people person. You have to go in and meet them and train them and educate them. So we were like, okay, one of our criteria is instantly global, self-serve, big market. Let's have a think. And then we thought back to our days at Design My Night. We had a big sales team that was selling this software to bars and pubs. And we looked at the whole process of sales. And this was probably when we ideated about three and a half years ago. And you had your CRM on one side, so HubSpot, Salesforce, etc. And then on the other side, all these outreach tools, LinkedIn Navigator, Outreach, and all of that. But then all of that bit in the middle of getting the deal done is done over email. So you're emailing back and forward, back and forward. Here's our deck. Email me questions. Here's our pricing. Email. And we were like, that is very old school. Like actually, the first ever email was sent in the 1970s. And the PDF was invented in the 70s as well. So we're still using that old tech in sales, even though you've got all these CRMs and everything around it. So we were thinking, wouldn't it be great if you can bring a really collaborative buyer journey to sales? So instead of going back and forward on emails, what if you could spin up a digital space between you and your prospect? If you think combining the ideas of Google Drive and Notion and Monday.com, all of these collaborative products, what if we can bring that to sales and actually drop into this centralized digital space, video content, demo content, case studies, demo recordings, meeting recordings, everything you need to make a purchasing decision. Instead of 50 emails, do it in one collaborative digital space. So that was the original premise, and yeah, we eventually launched what was to become Trumpet 2 years ago. I'm very fortunate that it's become a trend in sales. So I'm not going to bore everyone too much, but there's a new trend called buyer enablement, and what buyer enablement is in sales is what I was touching upon is if you can make it easier for your buyer to buy, they will buy from you. Simple as that. If you think about e-commerce sites, Amazon has been doing that. That's why it's a genius. It's so easy to buy. It's one swipe and it comes the next day. When you walk into a shop, it's about the experience that they offer you to make you buy. That's all it is. But in B2B sales, we've never thought of it like that. So
I'm fascinated.
So that was the premise. Yeah, look, we've raised VC. So Design My Night, we never raised VC. So we have gone down the different route this time. So we've raised VC. We're global. So we've got 20% of our customer base are in America, even though we're based out of London. We've got about 10,000 users on the platform already. So yeah, going great guns, going fast, which is what we wanted, and luckily have caught this trend in B2B sales.
So let's unpack what you are saying about trumpet, because as you said, B2B sell is not easy. And as you know, Nick, I work with a lot of startups. Work with a lot of SaaS startup, and I do help them in some ways using influencer marketing, buyer-driven engagement to actually expose their proposition in a very authentic way. So my approach is, how can we drive authenticity and educate the buyer to actually make sure that the buyer really understand the problem that is being solved, the latent problem they don't understand, to make it active. So I'm very early in the sales journey because I use marketing influencer technique. So for that, I need to use a LinkedIn. I use a lot of social media platform. I have to use also automation platforms to actually engage with these audience. For sure, we are going to use CRM or an active campaign, a HubSpot, a Marketo, depending as to how big the company is from a marketing viewpoint. So how do you engage, Nick, with this? And how do you change the levers of selling and make it easier for, I would be selfish, for the smaller business?
Yeah, so I think what you touched on there, the word education, is actually a fundamental part of buyer enablement. We're now more and more in a scenario where the buyer is actually very well educated on your product and before they even meet you. So, there's comparison sites like G2 and Capterra. As you say, the company should be putting content out on LinkedIn and other social media. So the buyer is a lot more educated. So when they actually come to meet you, they just want to know the problems you're going to solve for them and how you're going to do it. Like, they don't necessarily need all the fluff and gumph that goes. They don't want to be spoken to like a salesperson speaking to them. They genuinely just want to know, look, I know the product, I've seen your reviews, I've looked at your website, I've spoken to some of your customers maybe, I've seen what they say on LinkedIn about you. I just want to know how you specifically help my pain points. And as a salesperson, your first question should always be around, what problems do you think we are solving for here? So like, how can we solve for those pain points? Once you understand that, you then should take your buyer on a personalized journey. So how we do it in Trumpet is in our digital spaces. But once you put the phone down after that first call and you understand the problems you're trying to solve for them, you shouldn't be then just sending them a generic deck and a generic email that you send to every prospect. What you should do and can do in products like Trumpet is, in 30 seconds, spin up a space, like think of it as a microsite, personalized to that buyer. So we auto brand these spaces. So let's say you were selling to Stripe, you put that in when you're setting up your space, and we automatically brand it to Stripe for you. So personalization is automatically branded. And when you're in that space, you're talking to that person. So it's, hey, Sarah, not hey, how we can solve for Stripe, not problems we solve. And then it's actually dropping in case studies, content that is relevant to what they have told you on the call. So these are the three things you told me that you need to solve. These are the three ways we're going to solve those problems. And here are two customers that have had the exact same problems as you and we have solved for. And guess what? Here are two in your exact space selling to your same customer that have had your problems and we've solved them for. When you go back to a prospect with that, it immediately makes them feel a lot more comfortable and doesn't feel like they're just being sold to. It feels more consultative. And that consultant way of selling is more and more important nowadays. So once you do that, and then in our world, you have your digital space where you can just keep adding content. So one small part, just as an example, is buyers now are getting younger and younger. So a lot of buyers are millennials, some buyers are even Gen Z. They don't want to pick up the phone. They do not, especially to a salesperson. So we say you have to meet the buyer where they want to be met. And nowadays that is not on the phone. So within our digital spaces, we've got a collaboration suite where you and the buyer can collaborate. So you can either leave comments, You can leave voice notes for each other. You can leave video notes for each other. There's AI call summaries of all of those automatically. So basically, it's just saying to the buyer, however you want to deal with me, we'll do it that way, rather than it being one directional, the seller to the buyer. And you find that if you're personal, you're solving for their problems, you're collaborative, you're not pushy and trying to get them on the call, it immediately puts them at ease and makes them trust you a lot more and will want to buy from you. You suddenly don't become a pain. And those are just some of, I could talk for hours, but those are just some of the philosophies on, how you should deal with buyers in 2024.
So I'm going to unpack again what you're talking about, because you use the Stripe example. Stripe is a big client, right? It would be a big client. For example, organization like mine work with Fortune 500. So I can see the scenario with some of the big company I work with to create that personalized environment. But on another side, I work with very small companies as well, Nick, right? Do I need to create really a microsite for every single small companies? Can you actually help us understand, the scenarios, whether we are dealing with a big B2B or small B2B?
The answer is yes, you should. And it's down to products like Trumpet and ourselves to make that as easy as possible. So in the Trumpet world, you create a template. So for example, let's say you create a post-demo template, and actually to spin up a post-demo template with auto branding takes a minute. So to the buyer, it looks like you've spent a lot of time, but actually you've personalized it. You've dropped a quick voice note in, and it's branded to them, and it's got their name on it. That's personalization, and it's taken you a minute. One of our biggest customers actually sells to small companies, and their sales cycle is only 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I said to the VP of sales, like, why do you think you want Trumpet? And his reply was, I want to delight our buyers. We're in a competitive space. Even though we're selling to small people, they've got plenty of people to choose from. So if we give them that personalized experience, we want to delight them. There's more chance to buy to them. But the other important part is standardization. So across your sales team, let's say you only have 2 in your sales team. Let's say you're a small organization. But as a founder or whoever, you want to create a standardization of buyer journey. You want to know what your reps are doing. So actually, you can create a template which is like intro, proposal, case studies, and actually map out the buyer journey for your reps. So you know exactly what they're sending. They're representing your company very well. You're almost coaching them because the buyer journey is already set out. And he's got a bigger sales team, but he was like, that has been so game-changing for us because I wanted to elevate our buyer journey, and now I'm able to elevate it across our senior and junior sales reps. And we are going out with a consistent message to our customers. And his win rates have gone up massively. And, his thing with us was, I don't want to bring the sales cycle down because it's already 2 weeks, but through standardization and delighting the buyer, the win rate goes up. If you go into a shop, and let's say you're only spending £30 on some trainers. If you go into a shop and as soon as you walk in, someone greets you and says, what are you looking for? We've got these styles, let's try them on. Versus you go into a shop and you're ignored. And when you go and ask for your size, they sort of roll their eyes at you and come back 10 minutes later. You're more likely to buy from the one where they give you the nice experience, even just for £30 trainers. So you should apply that same philosophy, even if it's a small company selling to other small companies, or a big company selling to small companies. You need to give everyone a wonderful buyer journey, and that is that trend that we're seeing now.
So I hear is B2B. What about, I'm just thinking about some of the organization I'm talking about, two actually, Nick. What about educational platform? A lot of things is moving digital, right? They do tech, where a lot of people are actually pushing their content digital and targeting specific audience. Would that still work in that environment, Nick?
Yeah, I think that the beauty that we've seen at Trumpet is actually just the random ways people are using it. So in terms of like content and pushing content out there, because our digital rooms are all tracked because they're online. So actually you can see who's looking, what they're looking at, how long they looked at everything. Let's say you just wanted to push out some educational content. Instead of doing like a white paper, and put your email in, why not spin up a space? Drop content in, drop a little video in, introducing the content, have another page actually selling your product. And then when people enter the space, they have to enter their email. So you get that data, but then you give them a wonderful experience. And then you can actually see what they've looked at, how long they watched your video for. Did they look at the PDF that you dropped in there? So it gives you all of that data points. We have recruitment companies using it. So actually selling candidates, they're creating personalized spaces for them with the job opportunities. We have people using it as internal comms. So actually, instead of an intranet in a business, they're actually create a space where they can drop in like new videos, new product updates, new perks that the company are offering. And again, you can see of your employees who's logging in, who's looking at it. We've got people using it as their CV. So instead of just a blank CV, why not spin up a space with a video from yourself, your CV dropped in there, some examples of where you've worked, some of your hobbies. You can just be really, really creative. And it's all about how we engage with people. And we've become a lot more collaborative. As I said, because of the tools like Google Docs and Notion, we're becoming a lot more collaborative as a society. And if you can bring that to any element where you're selling yourself, selling your business, selling a product, then you will have the big rewards, 100%.
Fascinating. And I have to say, now I'm intrigued. So, Nick, I will have to try it out. But so how do you balance, building businesses, helping entrepreneurs with, building your next venture? How do you find that work-life balance? Or maybe there's no work-life balance. A lot of people say to me, Sabine, no work-life balance is probably work-life harmony. So how you do manage your time effectively?
Yeah, I like that work-life harmony. I mean, I do love what I do, so I don't see it as a grind. So, if I am working until 8 o'clock at night or whatever, I don't see that necessarily as a problem. It's not something I want to do all the time. And it's actually something I learned from Design My Night where I was younger, and I definitely got close to burnout. I was 24/7 non-stop.
Hmm.
So I'm very structured in my day. So I actually block out parts of my diary, whether it's the gym or going for a walk or angel investing. So, and if it's in my diary, then at least it's almost like I have to do it. It's like a meeting. And so I'm not one of these founders that advocates for getting up at 5 a.m., jumping in a cold bath, going for a 10K run, cooking yourself, 15 eggs. Like if that suits you, great, but you don't have to do that. I just block time out in my diary for personal stuff and work stuff and the different facets of my life. And then as my weeks shift, I weight them differently. So if Trumpet's extremely busy, okay, I'll do, less time for my podcast or angel investing and more on Trumpet. If I feel like I've got more time with needed less with Trumpet, I think, okay, I can spend an extra hour on the angel investing stuff. And my philosophy in life now is I want to be busy but not stressed.
Well
So
said.
and I love being busy. So if I can be busy, great. But the minute I start feeling anxious or stressed, I stop myself and think, what is causing me this stress? Make a change to it, because busyness doesn't have to mean stress.
I
They are
agree.
two different things. People get them confused. And I learned that from Design My Night, where I was busy and stressed. So that's sort of how I bring the harmony. My one hack, which a lot of people can do, is going for a walk. So I do that. I do that every morning. I don't go for a run. I go for a walk, 45 minutes. I put podcasts in or an audio book. My phone has no notifications on, and I just wander. I walk, I listen, for me, that's such a great way to start my day rather than rolling out of bed, shower, sit down and start working. And, I'm not someone that loves going to the gym or loves running or anything like that, but walking, if you have the capacity to walk, is doable. And it's not, running, you're just like, oh, I have to go for a run. But now I get up and I look forward to my walks. I'm going to listen to a great podcast or carry on with my book. So that's my one like huge life hack that since COVID actually that I now do every morning when I can.
Beautiful habits. And I think, Nick, we have very similar ones. I'm a walker, much more. I'm a runner nowadays, and probably because I was a runner once upon a time, and my knees are not as strong anymore because when you run, actually you damage your knees. I'm very much of a walker, and whether I'm going to the airport, whatever, I have I have 2 or 3 different AirPods in my handbag charged because I go into either my mobile phone or my iPad to listen to a book, and I buy books hardcore, paper. I buy them digital and I buy them audiobook as well. So I'm sure Amazon loves me because every book is bought in 3 different versions to meet all my needs, whether I'm walking or not. But also, funny enough, everything is also blocked in my calendar, whether I'm exercising, whether I'm doing a post, whether I'm working with a client, everything is a calendar because it's a form of achievement, fulfilling clients' needs for me, but also saying no when I want to say no. I said, you know what? Calendar is full. There's that many hours in the day. No more time for you people. You need to actually wait 2 weeks to talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you can get to that position, obviously you built up your reputation. So, people want to speak to you and work with you. So yeah, like some founders in the early days might be nervous about that. But honestly, yeah, maybe don't block out as much time. Like still make yourself time available, but do block out time for your own stuff, whether that, yeah, be walking, meditating, running, or cooking, or whatever you love to do, because it will make you a better founder, 100%. And I've seen that personally myself.
Yeah. So one question, which my last question will come to mind, looking at all the things you have done, Nick, is looking at trends. We've had a lot of change with COVID, and 2023 has been comme ci, comme ça, right? From an angel investing viewpoint, I think numbers have fall drastically. What for you are the latest trend? Where should we focus our attention? You are building a new business, so you have done that research. Please give us some nuggets as to see where, in your crystal ball, you see the world going.
So I think it's a great period we're in now. The market's reset. It needed to. The VC world has had a bit of a slap in the face, which it needed to. People are now realizing that you need to build a business that has revenue, and that you can drive $1 of revenue without spending $5 on marketing. So that's great. People are setting up real businesses now, which is great. Valuations have come down. Which is good in a way. It is because it resets the market. It's obviously good for angel investors as well. So yeah, I think we are in a great place to see lots of startups come out. This year, I'm seeing a lot better quality of decks than I did last year. So I think that is happening. In terms of spaces, if we put AI to one side, because I think that's the obvious answer, and I'm by no means an AI expert, actually. I tend not to invest in AI because of that. I think the thing you need to differentiate with AI is what is just a shiny facade on someone else's technology and what is proper good AI technology. So, if you don't have much of a moat with just the shiny facade on top of ChatGPT, be wary, be careful, find your moat when it comes to AI. I love niches. So I love it when someone comes to me and they say, I don't know, I'm a stamp collector, and I'm not, but I'm a stamp collector and I'm in a community of 50,000 stamp collectors. And this is a problem I've seen in the stamp collecting community. Like, not every idea has to be this huge, massive one to start with. If you think Twitch was watching people game, that's how it started, really. And you're like, that's very niche. Design My Night started just at bars, then we went pubs, then we went casual dining. So if you can solve for a niche problem, that you can then think how it can apply to other communities, let's say if you started in stamp collecting. I love that. So it's a problem you've lived, that you understand, and is niche that can then grow out. I think that's really cool. Other areas, I look at stuff like bringing something that was exclusive to the masses. So if you think that's how Uber started, so it was bringing on-demand chauffeur limousines to the masses.
Mhm.
I still think there's a lot of that can happen. So one area I did look at, but I didn't end up doing, was in personal finance. It's interesting to you, I think, is when I sold my business, the first place I went to was a financial advisor. And actually, that time I spent with a financial advisor would have been so much more useful when I had less money, on planning my finances, what I was spending my money on, what my financial goals were, how I could achieve them.
Mm.
Uh, it's a lot easier when you've got a lot of money, because it's just like, okay, well, you don't have to worry. Let's just think how we can make you more money. But
Mhm.
actually, financial planning and stuff. So I think stuff like that. How could you bring financial planning to the masses, and make it consumer friendly? So yeah, I think look at stuff that was exclusive that you can bring to the masses. I think that's pretty cool, and an area I like. I think we're going to see loads of progression in health tech. I
No
think,
doubt.
family of mine work in the NHS, and when I hear how backwards the NHS is as just one element, I think we're going to see a lot of progression in health tech, not necessarily like cures, but actually health tech, so helping hospitals and run. One of my best angel investments actually is called scan.com. And actually, it is about bringing the availability of scanning, MRI scans, different scans, to the masses. And they're absolutely killing it, like killing it, killing it, killing it. Probably one of my most successful startups. And they're only like 3 or 4 years old now, I think. So that is another good example of actually mixing those two areas that I'm talking about. I think legal tech's very interesting. Again, another very antiquated
Well, with
industry.
AI, actually, that's where potentially, and I'm not saying there is, you know, AI going to completely revolutionize legal, but a lot of contracts-based industry will require to actually see where there is so much replication and duplications where artificial intelligence can help reduce that. So yeah, legal is one.
100%. So yeah, look at industries that are antiquated, that use old systems, use old technologies, and just try and bring a modern eye to it. I'm less bullish on D2C, if I'm honest, so consumer products. I think
Mm.
personally, I think we've sort of seen that boom come and go. And I think to build a really big D2C brand takes a lot of money, a lot of expertise, and like how many products are truly unique anymore from a consumer point of view.
Yep.
And then you obviously have to get into bricks and mortar as well. Like you then have to go into shops, even though you're trying to disrupt that by building D2C funnels. So I'm less bullish on that. Not to say there can't be huge breakthroughs, of course. So yeah, they're probably, just off the top of my head, some of the areas.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick, because that's helpful. And as you said, B2B like you is my world, and direct to consumer is probably, it's not like it's a question mark, it's a completely different mindset. Even though, I admire those I would say those industry where they are building, tangible products. Now, personally, I'm looking for partly lifestyle. So I would like, just to bring my laptop to be fully digital and actually do all my great work from wherever I want in the world.
That's the best place, anywhere in the world that you can work and play. That's the ultimate, right?
That's the ultimate. So, Nick, where could our listener find you? How they can learn a little bit more about all the different things you do?
Yeah, so add me on LinkedIn. That's pretty much the only social media I have. So yeah, add me on LinkedIn. On there. I try and give loads of help and advice to founders about stuff I've learned. I also talk about my new projects. I've got 3 or 4 companies I've got now at the moment. I've got my podcast Pitch Deck, which is all about what early stage investors look for. So I have bite-sized, quick conversations with early stage VCs, early stage angel investors. So if you are raising money or thinking about raising money, have a listen to Pitch Deck, and hopefully you'll get lots of nuggets from there as well.
Perfect. Nick, thank you so much for joining me on Scouting for Growth, and I look forward to trying trumpet.
I look forward to having you on one of our adverts saying trumpet. Thanks, Sabine.
We can organize that with no problem. Bye, Nick.
Thanks, Sabine.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Scouting for Growth. Please subscribe, share with friends, and leave a 5-star rating. Your rating is so valuable. I review all of them, and my team help me adapt content to meet your needs. Also, connect with me on my preferred channels. I am a B2B growth expert, so you will find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Threads, and X as well as Blue Sky. All information available below. Until next, keep scouting for growth.